Truth be told, you're probably not bad at writing dialogue. You're just stuck, and in turn, you're defaulting to the person you know best, yourself. Meaning, all of your characters sound like you. And once that phenomena begins to happen, it doesn't matter how cool your story is, your characters all start to feel flat, interchangeable, and in turn, forgettable. Not to say you as a person are forgettable, it just kind of comes down to the fact that all your characters seem to be the same person, therefore there is nothing personable about them because they are all the same person. If your character's like you, that's not a problem, so long as you know how to write that character in a way that makes them feel real and not like a caricature of a person. So today, I'm going to show you how to fix that, how to write dialogue that actually sounds like your characters and not just you talking through them. Now to start off, no, this video is not the end-all be-all of character writing. I will continue to say that throughout this series. Oh yeah, did I mention this is going to be a series about writing characters, writing different kinds of characters, different things about writing characters, things like that. Anyway, I am just here to give my 2 cents as someone who's read a lot of books, written a lot of things, and watched way too many commentary YouTubers talk about how bad media is, and written episodes upon episodes of my own upcoming comic, The Hartwell Heim. So this video acts as a set of guidelines and tips, and less like a tutorial. These are all small reminders and concepts you may already be aware of, but haven't thought through fully in a while, or haven't thought through fully at all. Think of it as a 101 class and a refresher course wrapped in one. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So if you've considered this thought, what makes good dialogue, then you might have considered, the kinds of tips and tricks that might come with giving advice like that. But before we get into style, tricks, or anything fancy, we need to understand the foundation. Good dialogue isn't about being clever, it's more so about being intentional. Oftentimes what makes dialogue good or bad isn't what the character's saying exactly, but the intention behind those words. Putting dialogue underneath a strong magnifying glass and understanding the reasons why certain words are chosen or certain phrases are picked for a specific character is very important to consider. Now I'm going to get into some concepts that you may have heard of and concepts I've definitely stolen from other great, amazing writers and kind of just diluted into a quick and easy way to understand larger, broader concepts. Let's talk about them. For each character and their dialogue, you must consider these 5 concepts, and we'll start off with concept number 1. You must create a distinct voice for every character. Every character should sound different, not just in accent, but in thinking. Your character's education, background, personality, confidence level, all of those things shape how they speak, and a simple test you can use is to remove the name from your dialogues, and if you can't tell who's speaking, you kinda have a problem there. Your characters shouldn't feel like copies of one another, they should feel like different perspectives. Graciously using subtext. Here's the truth. People rarely say exactly what they mean. Good dialogue lives within what is unsaid most of the time. It's tension, it's implication, it's emotional undercurrents. For example, the character saying, "Oh, I'm fine," versus "I'm fine." These are the exact same words, but they're given completely different meaning. Dialogue isn't about information, it's about interpretation. So the way your character is interpreted very much depends on how they speak, and vice versa. Don't tell your audience, show them. This is when a character is saying exactly what they're thinking, or worse, they explain things to the audience that they already understand. As an artist, you already know to show, don't tell, visually, but we often forget to apply that to writing as well. So if your character is explaining the scene instead of living in it, you've already lost immersion. Be ruthless. We do not need filler conversations unless they serve something. If this filler conversation does not build tension, reveal character, or move the story in some way, it needs to be gone. Dialogue is a rhythm, and unnecessary lines, they break that beat. And lastly, but certainly not least, using action beats. I cannot tell you how many times within my own personal creative career I have forgotten to do this. You need to stop relying on he said, she said. Characters don't just talk, they move, react, and hesitate. They even avoid at times. So instead of, "I don't care," he said angrily, try, "I don't care." He turns away, jaw tightening. What your character does while speaking is often louder than what they legitimately say, which links back to the 3rd concept as well. If your character is fidgeting and feels uncomfortable and is saying something with confidence, then you can tell through the emotional undercurrents that they are in fact not confident about what they're saying. Now, I want you to take everything I just told you, put it in a basket, tie a rope around the basket's handle, and throw it out the window. You're not getting rid of it entirely, but you are only pulling it up to reference it when you need it, because breaking the rules is low-key fire. Here's what people miss, and what they mess up on a lot, is that they hear these rules and they treat them like law. They are not law, they are tools. And tools should be used as you see fit. On-the-nose dialogue can work if it fits the character. Exposition through dialogue can also work if it fits the character. Telling instead of showing can work if it's the right character that is doing it. I think we all hear these rules and we don't understand exactly what purpose they serve. Once you break down the purpose of each rule, you can figure out if that purpose applies to the character who is speaking, or the situation you're trying to explain, or what you're writing to begin with. Theme, tone, and media convention can also affect greatly how you choose to write your dialogue and who you want to appeal to. So this is super important. A lot of us are inspired by anime, and anime dialogue is very different from Western dialogue. It's more expressive, more direct in some ways, and sometimes more dramatic. But Western audiences, I've noticed, they expect more subtlety. If you are writing with the intention of being recognized by Western viewers, then just keep that in mind. A lot of Westerners really love subtlety. And a quick way to blend the two is to consider anime-style visual storytelling while also maintaining Western subtlety through verbal character expression. For example, an excellent show that does this actually super well is Castlevania. No, not that one. This one. This show blends both styles beautifully. It keeps that dramatic, expressive tone that is often used in anime, but it grounds it in a believable and understandable level of pacing and emotional weight. Characters feel heightened but not over-exaggerated. Again, it's not about copying style, it's more so about translating it. And when you understand what kind of audience you want to accumulate, then you'll start to realize that you can, in some ways, study different medias that have a similar vibe to yours, and just break down how they use dialogue, the way they use certain rules, and how they make each character explain things or conversate. It's just really about understanding dialogue as more of a science first, and then turning it into an art once you understand the core concepts. Now, I myself do my best to take the best of what I love about anime, character expression, and Western comic cinematics. I am personally writing a supernatural detective cop show thing, and for my story, anime verbal exposition is actually really useful because it helps simplify complex lore, it ties together extremely convoluted ideas, and it pulls the audience deeper into the story. But here's the catch. Not every character should be doing it. Too much of it kills momentum, and it weakens the impact of restraint. Because when you do break rule number 3, which is the one where you're, constantly explaining things through exposition, verbally, instead of showing the exposition itself, it should feel intentional. Telling without control is lazy. Telling with precision, that becomes your superpower. Allow me to show you what I mean. For example, Alistair Sinclair, the main villain of what I would like to call Season 1 of the Hartwell-Heim, is a beast in himself. He is sadistic, performative, almost gaudy in a way, but strategic and very intentional to a fault. He doesn't just talk, he reveals information when it benefits him. Let me give you an example.
Just when I needed some company. You know what fascinates me about your organization? You all mistake motion for progress. You see, you chase shadows and convince yourselves you're hunting something real. It's almost admirable, the effort. But effort without understanding is just noise. By the time you realize what I have built, the strides I've taken, the small, short, and concise moves I've made, it will already be over. Time is such an inconvenient thing. And my time here has come to a rather climactic close. Just to ease your mind, no, I won't be depriving our people of this valuable information. In fact, I'll leave it all behind. Along with you, of course. Unfortunately, what they find will probably be ash before that convenient distress signal of yours reaches anyone capable of understanding it. A real pity. This all is for you. Farewell.
This kind of telling instead of showing very much works because it attaches to who he is as a person. He wants to talk. He very much enjoys conversation, and he weaponizes that by using information to make people feel unsettled, to give their final moments less and less meaning, and to make them feel like the entire time they were being manipulated, which in most cases they often were. But to contrast him, of course, I would have to put him up against, oh my god, English language. I'm gonna keep that in. Anyway, I would have to put him up against Lucien because Lucien says very little things. He wouldn't very much explain anything to you. He doesn't tell you he's powerful, he shows you. And confidence, real confidence, doesn't announce itself, it purely acts. And Lucien is a very confident man in pretty much everything he does, besides maybe raising his children. But he gets the job done. You know, he's not just gonna be like, ah yes, I am evil man, and I'm come to show you how evil I am because I am evil man. He's just gonna be like, you're going to get your skull crushed now, and your skull will be crushed. That's just it. That's point A to point B, very simple. Alistair is point A to point F billion, then to point -0, then to point 6, and then finally you drop at point C for a little bit, then you loop-de-loop back around to point -0, and then you get to point B. Very much a strange man because he wants you to be afraid of him, he wants you to feel uncomfortable, and that's kind of just his vibe. Alrighty, now this is the part and set of, things that will actually help you change your dialogue for the better, because knowing the rules is one thing, but making your character sound different, that is a skill, and it is a skill you need to exercise over and over again by writing and rewriting and rehashing conversations so that you've kind of just perfected normal conversation. And I'm going to help you do that through a few simple steps, but these simple steps will become the groundwork for how you are going to process everything. Okay, so here is part 1 of this information, and this is how to make dialogue itself distinct. I don't write dialogue line by line first. I personally build it from the character outward, and dialogue isn't something you write, it's kind of something you translate from who the character is. So the core formula for me is dialogue equals personality plus vocabulary plus diction plus experience. And let's break that down, actually. All of that is just really a bunch of mumbo jumbo for who your character is affects how they speak. And yeah, that sounds like a no-brainer, but when you get to the writing process, all of that goes out the window. All of that information that you have hyper-focused on, all of that character lore that you've stuffed into that character and sewn up together and been like, yeah, this is my low OC, it goes out the door when you have to make them speak to each other. Unless you have been fawning over these individuals and squishing on their faces and be like, oh my god, I love my OC so much, you will forget core details about them the moment you start trying to write that dialogue. I'm not even kidding. I love my OCs to death. I love them to their graves. Most of them do wind up dead, actually. But I sometimes forget small details about them, which is why I write it all down. Okay, so starting off with the first bit of the core formula, let's get into number 1, which is personality. So when you're explaining your character's personality through dialogue itself, it also comes down to how they present themselves. Are they direct? Are they avoidant? Are they emotional? Are they logical? Are they sarcastic? Observant? This determines how they approach conversation. Direct characters tend to be short and efficient. Emotional characters tend to be expressive and reactive. Observant characters pause more, they notice more, and they often tend to speak a little bit less. Two characters can say the exact same thing, but their intent will always sound different. For example, take this question. Where are you? It's getting late. Demi might say in context, speaking someone like Reggie, his cousin, where you at? I ain't finna wait all day, cuh. While someone like Alistair might express himself a little bit differently. You should have been here by now. As I've said, I am a very impatient man. Number 2, vocabulary. This is where education, class, and environment come in. Do they use complex words? Do they simplify everything? Do they use slang? Vocabulary is one of the fastest ways to separate a character's voice. Now, this can get a bit derogatory and can be used in the wrong context, so let me explain a little bit deeper. What I mean by your character's upbringing and, things like who raised them and everything, it really comes down to how they internalize that lived situation. You can grow up in the hood all your life, but living in the hood doesn't make you speak a specific way. It might give you specific slang that you say. It might give you a certain temperament to your speech, like how fast or slow you talk, but it will not change your core character. That all depends on how you express yourself, which ties into another conversation we're going to have probably directly after this one, maybe the next one over. Moving on to number 3, diction. This is the rhythm, tone, and structure. Do they ramble? Do they cut sentences short? Do they speak formally or casually? Diction is the music for your dialogue, and the way your character communicates with others in some ways is often more important than what they say, because your character could be mute, but the way that they hold themselves physically, the way that they sign, the attitude and the way that they stand will definitely aid more in their characterization, more than what they actually let come out of their mouths. And finally 4, experience. This is the deepest layer, and the one people tend to skip subconsciously. What has this character lived through? Because that affects confidence, hesitation, openness, tone, and a myriad of other things. And what shapes all of this is very important, and it's something you can actually start writing and considering early on, and then tie your dialogue back to, and that is family, friends, culture, media, and trauma. Confidence, these things shape your character, which in turn shapes how they communicate. All of these things rewire how people speak and the way they show up. It's not clean, it's not organized, it's often random, so real speech isn't designed, it's accumulated. Now, here is a quick character checklist. Before writing dialogue at all, before even touching any kind of writing utensil, do these things and consider these questions. Does your character make eye contact when they speak? Do they fidget? Do they over-explain or say less? Are they poetic or blunt? Do they even like talking? Sometimes the most distinct voice is the one that barely speaks. If your characters all sound the same, it might not be a dialogue problem you have. It most likely is a character depth problem. If you go back in and toy with the character a bit and figure out more what they're about and who they are, where they grew up, all of these basic things, the dialogue will follow and it will flow after, and you will be able to write someone who feels like they're connected to the world that they live in. Now let's take everything we just learned and apply it. So I'm going to give you a writing dialogue exercise, and here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you this flat version of dialogue, and I want you to spice it up with information you know about my characters. Not information, given the information you know about my characters, which I shall supply here on the screen for you. Adhere to character and personality, and spice up this dialogue and make it about 10 lines. I want to see what you can come up with and see if understanding more about the character helps you make the dialogue more interesting, but not over explained, if you will. So take your time and leave it in the comments if you are so brave enough. I would love to read how you interpret these characters based on their backstory and their background and everything. But yeah, if you'd like, you can leave your dialogue exercise in the comments. That'd be really amazing. I would love to read it. And before we close, here is what I want you to take with you. Dialogue isn't about making your characters sound cool. It's about portraying that character in the right light, making them feel real by touching the parts of the brain that connect to real ideas. And to make them communicate like real people. And real people, they contradict themselves, they hesitate, they say the wrong thing, and sometimes they say nothing at all. If this helped you to any capacity, let me know in the comments. I would even love if you shared your own thoughts and dialogue down below. So, as always, stay creative, stay safe, and have a blessed rest of your day, my friends. I'll catch you guys in the next one.